Hello, and welcome to a Simple podcast. My name is Anthony. I have a love for music and marketing, and all I'm trying to do is bridge those two things together and talk to some really cool people in music. In this episode, I talked to James, an entrepreneur from the Los Angeles area. He not only founded a really cool platform called IndustryHours, but he's actually a photographer for Scene Daddy, and he is also the creative visual director at Spawn Zone. You can usually find him at an EDM show or a rock show. We covered a lot in this episode: the do's and don'ts of networking, what it's like being a freelance photographer, and how to actually get past those dry spells from work, and how to find more work through using his platform called IndustryHours. But before we delve into the episode, I wanted to take a moment and thank our sponsor, which is Feature FM. Feature FM is an advanced music marketing platform which is actually trusted by over 60,000 labels and artists across the board. It helps you increase revenue in digital music services and maximize your audience engagement. If you sign up today with our affiliate link, you do get a free $10 credit worth 500 sponsored song plays to your specific target audience. To get started, go ahead and visit feature.fm/simple. And with that being said, let's begin. Why were you in Orlando? I mean, I know we kind of talked about it, but you were attending like a festival.
Yeah, so because this week is EDC Orlando. It's an Insomniac Rent event, and there's a separate company. I don't recall their name, but they do kind of a festival called Home Base. So down in Orlando, I'm going to assume this is probably like city ordinance rules, or the council probably voted a set time. But unfortunately, that event ended at midnight. So what Home Base did is they worked around it, and they provide like a pre-party at a hotel that's off the grounds, and then people can go there, stay there for the weekend, do a pool party in the hotels, and then everyone takes shuttles from that hotel over to EDC Orlando, and then they party there until midnight, and then after midnight they shuttle back to the hotel, and then they just party until like 7 a.m. But I was tired from filming all day, so I didn't do any after festival activities, so I just went back to my room and slept. But yeah, I mean, my flight this morning was at like 6:30, so I just went to bed at around like 1 o'clock, and now I'm just editing.
Nice. I've never been to like a festival like in that scene, like the EDM scene or anything like that. But I've been to like So What and South by Southwest before they dispersed or whatever. But I mean, I assume that's completely different than a festival like that.
Yeah, the cool thing about like the EDM festivals is just it's a way different vibe. But I did go to So What, and that was the one in Texas, I think, and that was like the year they had like Fit for a King, and then I want to say no, I know Emarosa played, and then they had a few other pretty sick bands. But yeah, it's just like way different because I started off in like the metal industry, and then I started doing like my first, like, I guess real show that I did was at a club. So after that, I kind of just got sucked into it. So it's I do shoot metal shows occasionally. Like I just shot Devil Wears Prada probably like 2 weeks ago, and then that was with who else played? Gideon and Norma Jean.
Oh,
so
nice.
That was pretty dope. So the last time I saw them was like 2009. So it's been a while. But yeah, I try to go to at least like one metal show per month to kind of just like stick to my roots a little bit. But primarily, most of my clients are like EDM based. So I kind of just go where like the demand's at, kind of in a way. So
yeah, definitely. I mean, the EDM scene in general has just skyrocketed. But I still have not gotten my feet wet with that. I mean, the closest thing to it was when I went to what's that festival that they do in San Francisco? Outside Lands. Yeah. I went there this year as a brand ambassador for this application startup that I was a part of. And I was just kind of doing outreach, talking to people, handing out flyers and stuff. And it definitely was different than just going to like a club show or something like that.
It's cool, man. I mean, it just kind of sucks with it's such a different industry. So it kind of like has me torn a little bit because like, with these EDM shows, they're able to charge like $300, $400 for a couple of days or 3 days. And then you go to like a metal show, and it's cool from a consumer standpoint because, like the metal shows are cheaper. It's more affordable in a sense. But then you have these artists that are usually like, this more of a starving artist, community in the metal industry opposed to like EDM artists who, are raking in like, 10, 20, 30, $40 million per year. So, that's something that I do wish like, could change within like the metal or the alternative community would just be, a better way to like pump funds back into it so that, the artists are able to travel more, do more tours, just do more things because, it's just like, it's a way different price point, but it's also different, demographic too. You got people at the clubs popping bottles. They don't have an issue spending $5, $10, $20,000 on a table, but that's definitely not something you would see like within the alternative industry. So it just kind of shows, how mainstream EDM really is becoming. And, they're using a lot of like metal influences. Like Keizo has a show coming up and he's bringing like Icy Stars, I think, or something like that. And, he's has a song with Under Oath and like a few different people, but I'm just not like a super fan of like the metal EDM mix. I don't know, like there's some bands that can do it right.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, a Day to like, not to cut you off, but like a Day to Remember's collab with Marshmello. I mean, I did not hate it. It was odd at first, but I mean, I could see the benefit from both parties because, I mean, on the EDM side, you do have a little. It kind of is the alternative or rock side of like pop and hip hop because, I mean, if you think about it, like dubstep was huge, like not too long, like a while back, and that was like cool. And most people that listen to dubstep listen to like alternative music or metal, So, I mean, you could kind of say the same thing about EDM, but I mean, it's kind of turning more into like trying to mesh those two, how they're trying to do that.
Yeah. I mean, some people can do it, but I'm not like a super fan of it. But, it is cool kind of giving the bands publicity a little bit in a way. Because, I definitely do see a lot of the dubstep kids did come from like the metal scene because I mean, that's like one of the few EDM genres that you have like mosh pits in. So it's kind of funny, like seeing a mosh pit at an EDM show, but people still get down. I mean, it's nothing crazy like a metal pit where you have like closed fists or anything. It's a lot of like push moshing and stuff like that. But, it's a lot more tame, but I mean, people still get, messed up and, it's just, I don't know. It's kind of funny sometimes watching a EDM pit, but.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen clips online. I mean, they get pretty rowdy, and I was kind of surprised. Like one of my buddies went to a Tyler the Creator show, and I was like, "They have mosh pits at those?" Like, I did not know that. That's crazy.
Yeah. No, of course. So I mean, right now, I just do like the content creation part time since I still have a day gig. I've been doing photos for about 11 years, and then doing like video work for about 3. So right now I'm freelance. I have a lot of residual clients, but it's primarily the dubstep EDM scene. And then I do publication work in the metal scene for Scene Daddy. So just going to start covering more shows for them, getting more content out for them, since I'm like the only person on staff that's California based. And we're pretty spoiled out here. So we get, all the good shows like, we have the My Chemical Romance reunion show out here. We have, most of the main tours hit Los Angeles or Orange County in some way. And then I have like a networking app for, essentially EDM people, anyone from like go-go dancers to photographers, graphic designers, producers, venue owners, pretty much anyone that, you would see at a festival or working an event is, welcome on the platform. And then I'm a co-owner of a management company for right now just DJs. So we have 2 DJs on a roster. And once I'm able to, kind of put my more attention on that, we'll definitely be expanding. But yeah, as of right now, I'm pretty heavily involved in the LA EDM scene. I do clubs, 2 to 3 times a week. And it definitely keeps me busy.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a lot of things you have going on.
Yeah, and that's just the portion of it. I mean, that's really essentially all the work I do in the industry, music-wise. But I definitely do enjoy my job. It's super fun getting to go out and create content and meet the DJs and meet all the really awesome people in the scene because I've met some really good people in the EDM industry. A lot. It's they try to like do the whole plur, peace, love, unity, respect. Of course, there's not good people in the industry, but for the most part, most people I've met have been pretty amazing. So I don't have any complaints within that industry. So I just pretty much only want to work in the metal and the EDM industry. I'm not a fan of the other genres. So
Right.
I've tried to, dip into other genres. I've had too many issues. It's just not really worth it for me. So kind of just put like a sour taste in my mouth in regards to the genres. But I mean, yeah, it's super fun. This year's been pretty good. I've covered some pretty huge festivals. So I'm pretty excited with like the progress. I'm just going to continue going up from here. But yeah, I love working in the industry, so I couldn't imagine myself anywhere else.
Right. That's awesome, man. It's interesting that you say like how the EDM industry specifically, like they're all about like plur. And I'm happy to hear that you've not encountered any issues like in regards to that. Like no one's been like bad to you so far, from what it sounds like. 'Cause
Yeah.
I feel like when I think of like EDM and again, correct me if I'm wrong, cause I'm not involved with that scene at all. Like all I ever see online or just like public perception is that it's all a party, like doing drugs, getting drunk, all that stuff. But again, like for me on the outside, that's what I see, but based on what you've told me, that's not all that it really is, there's more to that. Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's just kind of the surface. I mean, I feel like with everything, people are going to skew things, kind of to their advantage. But I mean, don't get me wrong, like drug use is definitely prevalent in the industry. But in my opinion, I'm not trying to I don't know, it's kind of weird. But I just feel like I've met the most successful people in that industry, as in like, there's some really big bread makers in the industry. There's a lot of money to be pumped into it. So a lot of people spend more money in it. So it's kind of weird, because people can still, go ahead and party and, let go of their issues and then come back to reality the next day. So, I mean, it's definitely kind of hard for the industry since it's definitely more heavy. But I mean, even with metal, I mean, there's definitely a much larger straight edge, scene within the metal industry. But, yeah, I mean, it's funny because one of my clients that I shot for this weekend at home base, he's actually a doctor. He's an MD.
Oh, what the heck?
And he created this company called Rave. Yeah, he created this company called Rave Doctor. So they actually ironically do like after party like supplement drinks. So they'll have like, recovery drinks with like amino acids, and then they do like, just stuff like that. So they kind of like tackle that issue so that you're not like feeling all like depressed because, a lot of people do, consume recreational drugs in the industry. So you kind of have to go back to work, pretty normal.
Right.
So, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely a getaway. And there's definitely a lot of people that, do abuse it and just, they're kind of, they kind of just like skate through life and they just, go to festivals and stuff only. And that's what they build their money on. But I mean, to each his own, I suppose. I'd rather be going to events getting paid for it. It's a win-win. You get to enjoy it. You get to make the networking and you get paid to be there. So it's definitely like a lot of perks to it. But yeah, I can definitely see, with raves and the whole like candy culture and all that, how, it is definitely, it is pretty heavy on the drug side, but there are people that still rave sober.
Right.
So, I mean, people that don't.
And I mean, like in any music, like genre or any like music scene, like there always will be that, like drug abuse and partying and stuff. And I mean, you could argue that even pop music or just commercial music, I like to call it. I mean, they kind of glorify substance abuse or just being like, I mean, any rap song you listen to, they talk about like, they objectify women, they talk about money, weed and all this other stuff. But the same people that listen to that music, they say, yeah, fuck the EDM scene. Like it's all just a bunch of people like popping mollies and doing a bunch of crazy stuff. So, I mean, you could see it from, like you said, like it can go either way,
Yeah. I mean, I definitely don't agree with like cherry picking stuff, but I mean, you should definitely be like conscious of, the bigger picture. But I mean, at the end of the day, we go to shows and stuff to, escape from life, to enjoy the music and to, just have fun and to kind of let loose. So, I do definitely see how it's a good way to, get away. And people definitely do kind of like, dive into that a lot more within that scene. You can only like, I guess, suppress your issues for so long. So, I mean, once people come down and they're sober and stuff, you still have those issues in life, but, life's overwhelming to at least escape a little bit. But
definitely.
I believe in everything in moderation. You know what I mean? I think you can still have fun. You can still party occasionally. But I mean, when it starts affecting your work life, your personal life, you start having issues and, things like that, that's obviously, when you have to seek outside sources and stuff like that. But, for the most part, people are pretty good. I mean, even if they're on drugs and, they're still pretty nice people out there. But I mean,
Yeah.
I had fun this weekend. Everyone's really cool. You don't have as many issues in there. And a lot of people like to moderate it. And it's pretty, strong community like based. So, I'm excited to see where the years, what the year has for me. So, I mean, from here, it's just going on up and I'm just trying to do my job, just create the best content I can and just to keep building connections and moving forward. So, definitely no complaints on my end. And, I definitely think that people who love music should, at least if they want to get into it, it's not too hard. At least it's kind of like the Wild Wild West. You can kind of be whatever person you want to be, which is cool. You can create whatever company you want to do, but I mean, as long as you're doing what you love and you're working hard at it, you'll be able to, essentially do whatever you want. So it's cool.
Yeah, man, definitely. I agree with everything you're saying. And I mean, when you're talking about like creating content, that's a part of your company's Spawn Zone, right? Is that just for EDM? Like is that, because I mean, when I look at your Facebook page, first and foremost, I want to like give kudos to you for like the branding, because it does seem like it's a brand and kind of like you said, like it's a very it's a community, right? And even you could kind of and again, like I could just be making this up, but from what it looks like Spawn Zone looks like it has like a following. Like I see people wearing shirts at these festivals. Like if you could kind of speak to that a little bit, and how like does that help you like land clients, or how does that work?
So, I mean, for me, like I kind of, been doing photography for a while. So like my first company was like, I was like a huge Mars Volta fan. So like Inertiatic ESP was one of my favorite songs for a while. So like my original company name was Inertiatic Photography, but then I realized it's kind of hard to explain to people how to spell Inertiatic. So I had to drop that. And then for a while, like in high school and like college, I was like a huge like gaming nerd. Like for instance, there's one game, Guild Wars, which is like the opposite of like World of Warcraft. I had like 2,500 hours on it. So I would just do like 6 to 8 hour days just playing video games and playing Counter-Strike. And Counter-Strike was actually one of the first one of the first like developers in their team, where they're the ones that kind of developed the word Spawn Zone, which is where the player spawns on the map. So to me, like a spawn zone is like the opposite of a black hole. So I kind of just took that as like a creation zone. Like when I'm somewhere, it's kind of like spawning out just content and photos. So I kind of just like took that philosophy, just made it into my company. And then from there, I mean, it's really cool because I'm a big person when it comes to like giving credit where credit's due. So I require all my clients to tag me and stuff. And I've been doing pretty well with that, because like that helps with like, brand familiarity, with, brand strengthening. And, it's kind of like how when people have like the iPhone and stuff and everyone's like, oh yeah, you got like the Apple iPhone and stuff. It kind of becomes like, I don't know, like that. I guess a trend is another way to say, it becomes a popular thing.
Brand loyalty as well.
Yeah. So people are like more likely to book me, and people come up to me shows all the time because I always wear my logos and stuff on my shirts when I'm shooting, and people always come up to me like, hey man, it's like really cool to see you and like meet you. And just like, I actually was shooting at a show one time at this club called Avalon, and this guy, I was like on the stage, and this guy walked up to me with his like iPhone, and he like had my Instagram page up, and he's like, is this you? And it was just really kind of cool how people like recognize me after a while. Yeah, so it's just kind of cool to have like a unique name, because I'm not a fan of like having like the cliche. I don't know. I think it's kind of cliche. I'm not a big fan of like having your name in front of like photography. Like I don't like James Gross Photography. I just kind of think it sounds like plain. I don't know. I just kind of like
unoriginal. Like I mean, even though your name is kind of original, like anyone's name, like but it's just kind of boring. Like it's your branding, and branding is important,
Yeah. So I feel like if you have like something that stands out, and if you're unique, and if you're pushing something that, people believe in, that they're more likely to, support you and be behind you in that. So, I mean, it's nice to have a solid branding, because people are more likely to book you. people are familiar with you, their friends use you, so they're more likely to, have faith in you. So I get a lot of my work from references, like referrals and stuff, just from, current clients, sending my information over to new people. And then I have a pretty good like retainment rate. So I'm pretty good at, getting my clients all the content they want, going above and beyond, getting them more content than we agree on. And then just, I just really do like high caliber, high quantity like content. That's what I believe in. Because of course, you want high quality work. But in my opinion, like if I send a client, like 20 images for the hour, what's the chance? Like, let's just be realistic. What's the chance that they will love every single image?
Right.
Like, it doesn't matter how good you are. There's gonna be something about a certain image that the client just doesn't like. So I just like send them a ton of work. They can choose from it, post whatever they want. I kind of oversaturate it in that way. But my clients love it. They like having choices and options. And I kind of do it from a consumer standpoint. Like, I would love for someone to give me like 100 really awesome images than like 20. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I can rinse out the work for a few months. I can, recycle it, or high quality, high content work. So it kind of works with, the name Spawn Zone a little bit. So
yeah, because then you just got content spawning everywhere, which is great. I mean, and since you offer them that many photos, I mean, that plays into kind of your vision on it. Like, content is super important, and that kind of ties into the branding, and you almost become a part of their branding just based on like how the photos look and how they feel. And your clients can kind of use that across all their social platforms, and people can kind of associate that to not only the artist, but to you as a content creator as well, which is awesome. Everyone wins.
Yeah, it's cool, like being able to help someone build a brand and kind of like have a big influence on their image and everything. Because one of my clients, their name's IO Music Academy, and they're based out of Los Angeles. And one of the guys I was shooting photos for one of their classes, and one of the students was there, and I was taking photos, and we just like had a conversation. He's like, and I told him how I was their residential guy. I've been doing content for them for the last 2 years, and like literally all their whole website's all my work. So the guy was like talking about how he was looking for music academy school to start producing music, and he was scrolling through, and he just like kind of said in his head, like, I got to find a music academy. And ironically, those guys popped up on his feed, and because of the image, he like got sucked into the ad. And then from there, he applied to school and he became a student. So it's just kind of funny how like even something as small as you just taking a photo and your client just posting it, how that can just make someone a customer, you know what I mean? Just from the aesthetic, just from the branding. So it's kind of cool. It's a good feeling that people, appreciate your content and they like it enough to kind of, commit to that brand.
Yeah, so, definitely. I mean, and content comes into play because, I mean, not just like advertising, but just like social media posts in general. Kind of a background on me, that's where I specialize, right? Like social media marketing, advertising, and things like that. And first impressions are everything in that world. So for you to be able to get that perfect shot, for you to kind of build up your client's brand is super important for brand recognition, but also for just acquiring people. Like you got that academy, someone to enroll just based off of your image, which is crazy and something you should be super proud of.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's cool because, I mean, I even have clients that one of my clients, he did a pretty big festival called Project Z out here. And he was the first client that I used my home studio with. And he's been using the same image for the last 3 years. So it kind of goes to show that, content can definitely be priceless. And that's one of my favorite things about like just being a photographer is it's just like, it's kind of a crazy idea that you're able to take an event, you can like freeze it in time and just have it forever. Like it's always going to be there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you always have that nice reminder. I'm a big person for, looking back at memories, and it's just always cool to see, just to see how you were in that moment of time. So I definitely do, love creating content, and it's cool because, digital age is definitely, changing that. So, I mean, before we had film, and then now we're switching over to, like the, photography and GIFs, and to just a whole bunch of cool stuff with, graphic design and multimedia. Like even 4D cinema is cool because people are now like making like videos out of photos and stuff, and like adding motion and movements and all that stuff. So it's definitely interesting to see where it's going. But I mean, that's the thing, is like you definitely have to adapt. and get used to like all the new technology out there. So I mean, it's always advancing. Cameras always getting better and faster, and it's cool seeing like like people like just normal people are able to just buy a camera and start creating some really awesome stuff. So
Yeah, I mean, even the cameras on phone, like I was a camera supervisor at Best Buy, so I mean, I know how to sell a camera. I can't shoot for shit. Like, I'm just gonna be honest, but I was a great salesman. But I mean, even the cameras on your iPhone are still pretty good for just like the everyday user. I mean, it's not something I would take out for like a festival or something like that, like to shoot professionally. But I mean, I see a lot of like images from like up and coming artists that just look really bad. And it's like, how do you get a bad image when these cameras on these phones are more than decent and more than adequate enough for you to make something presentable,
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of resources out there, but that's a funny thing too. Actually, ironically, Facebook Memories reminded me of this tweet. Actually was an Instagram DM from like 2 or 3 years ago, and I can't find the tweet right now. But essentially, what it said via DM, what the guy messaged another photographer, and he's like, "Hey, bro, I bought the camera that you told me to get, and I've been using it for a month, but for whatever reason, my photos don't look like yours. Are you sure this is the same camera?" Familiar with like shutter speed or white balance and things like that? That can definitely be a factor to like either good image or bad image. But I mean, nowadays you got people who are just coming right out the gate with very minimal photography or video experience, and they're just learning everything they can and just killing it. Like there's this one guy I can think of. He's a videographer. He's only been doing it for a year, and he already did like a pretty big festival that's reputable. He was already, credentialed for that, the whole 9 yards. And he's already coming up and he's going to be touring within the next like 6 months. So, I mean, this dude, he didn't have any prior experience, didn't go to school for it, just, kind of had like the natural niche. He's already out here, already has a residential event company he shoots for. He actually shoots for 2 residential companies, and, he's already traveling for work in a year time frame. And that's pretty crazy. So, I mean,
yeah, that's insane.
It's always interesting. Kind of stick to my lane. Like, I'm definitely not a good, musician by any means. I enjoy music. I love it, but I stick to photography since I was like my first love since high school. And my father was a photographer too. So,
oh, wow, that's awesome. But yeah, I mean, some people just love music, but they can't write it, so they try to stay involved with music as much as they can.
It's honestly, yeah, one of the most fun, things to work in, because you can do it remotely. You can travel for work. You can get paid big bucks for it. You know what I mean? You can become famous if you want or whatever.
Yeah, there's just so many different doors that you can kind of open. I mean, aside from like you making content, another thing that you do, like your long list of things that you do, is your IndustryHours app and like website. I mean, when you're talking about like the connections that you've made, is that kind of like why you created IndustryHours? And if you could kind of explain a little bit more as to what that is specifically.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, being a freelance photographer, you have your residential work, you have your clients that keep coming back to you, but you definitely find yourself in periods where it's kind of like a dry spell. It's not necessarily like a reflection of you or your prices or your content or what you're putting out, but it could just be that you just don't have a big enough scope of clients or people that, you can rotate through that can use you. So like last year, I kind of noticed that, I had a little dry spell, and that I wanted to find new work, but it's kind of redundant to me to just kind of, keep advertising the same people, because we only have so many mediums. I can only advertise people on my Twitter that follow me, my Instagram, my Facebook, and, things like that. So,
right.
I wanted to find a way to kind of build new connections and for people to kind of search for people with like intention, because our generation is pretty good. If you know that you want something, you'll go out and research it and how to find it. So I noticed that with the EDM scene, it's just kind of hard to even be like, okay, I want a photographer that excels in low light photography that shoots techno shows. You know what I mean? So I kind of just, I was like, well, if I kind of create at least a landing page or something where people can go there, if they're looking for specific work, they can easily find it. So I just kind of like took a little, inspiration from like the MySpace days when it was super easy to find bands. Just literally all you do is just like metal band in like Columbus, Ohio, and it lists you like, 10 bands in the area. So I kind of like
Right.
took that a little bit with like a little bit of like LinkedIn, a mix of Craigslist and a mix of Reddit, and then I kind of came up with that. So currently, it's all geolocated, so you can go on the website, you can search for someone, close to you in a specific city based on genre, like what they do, if they're like a producer for a company, and any of that. So you can search for it, and there's forums on there, so people can post questions if they have any when it comes to production, or just essential, just general Q&A questions. So there's also like a marketplace too, so you can sell equipment and stuff, because I feel more comfortable getting equipment from someone who's in the same industry as me. I prefer to have like a camera from someone who shoots shows, so I know it's like a sufficient piece of equipment. It works well in low light, and there's things like that. So it's a lot better because it's community based, and you can go there and find what you need specifically. It's pretty clear cut. You're not having to sift through all this stuff like Facebook, like where this person could work in the industry, this person probably doesn't. So at least you can go there and you can find people pretty easily. So right now, it just launched this weekend on the Apple and Android stores. So the next phase right now is just to kind of bring more attention to it, just run as many ads as I can via Facebook or Instagram, and just keep building community and just adding to it, just adding cool features like a music player. I have a pretty awesome development team behind it, so I fully trust in them, and we have some really cool stuff coming up that I can't wait to launch, some partnerships with some companies.
Oh, wow.
Eventually I want to start like throwing shows too, so a lot of ways that people grow in the music scenes by doing collaborative efforts, because you're advertising to your current audience base and to their audience base. So I mean, you're essentially doubling or tripling your reach depending on how many real organic followers that company has. So it's
Right.
good to do the cooperative efforts. I definitely see people are able to excel more through that. So I mean, it shows that you guys have good synergy, and that both brands can at least benefit from it. So hopefully down the road it can just keep getting bigger, and I just wanted to be like a one-stop hub just for EDM people. So
Definitely.
we'll see where it goes. I mean, it's been pretty good, and I've gotten like a lot of positive feedback and affirmation from it. So just gonna get that ready for 2020, and then 2020 hits. Just right now it's kind of doing the building blocks, going through like the beta phase, getting all the glitches and all the issues out, and making sure that by 2020 it's like a well-oiled machine, and people don't have any issues. It's I'm trying to make it user friendly and everything, and I just I want to have just a really awesome app that everyone can benefit from, including myself. It'd be cool for me to find connections for any company that I want to shoot for. So
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I'm not in this scene, but I mean, just looking at the website and how it's built, I mean, you mentioned you have a great development team behind it, which I mean, at first glance, it looks like it's built really, really nice. It's easy to use too, which again, like me not knowing anything about that scene or not knowing any of the names out there, it's easy to navigate. And for me, like if I were to try to find like a photographer, or if I were trying to find a specific venue in a specific area, I mean, it makes it easy to do that. Because I mean, you could search for this stuff on Google, or you can post about it on Facebook or search for it on Facebook. But here, I mean, it's a niche market, like you said, like this is specifically what it is that you're looking for in your genre, or at least within the industry that you're looking for that stuff, which there's not, I mean, at least to my knowledge, there's nothing out there that's like that, for this specific industry, which is crazy that, that now that there is.
Yeah. I mean, I just noticed a void, and, if you build, there come kind of thing. And, I kind of live like off like catchphrases a little bit, like slogans. So, I mean, I'm definitely a strong believer in your net worth being your network.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
It's sometimes not what you know, it's who you know. And that's a big thing with this industry, is like you see people getting crazy gigs. I'm not saying, obviously, talent gets you pretty far, but I mean, if you're decently talented and you have the right connections, sometimes you can get to the top much quicker. You know what I mean? I'm sure it's with a lot of genres. You can see that in every industry, that it's like, okay, well, how does this person headline this show? I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I can't hate on people because they still put in some work or they figured it out, which is good for them. Props for them. But
Right.
I definitely see hard work and talent overcoming in the end. You know what I mean? You can only fake it till you make it for so long, and people will eventually realize that true talent and true musicianship is gonna be the stronghold in the industry. So I definitely do see that kind of happening with the EDM industry. People kind of cracking down more on who gets shows, and they're kind of doing it based on how good the production is, their mastering, their mixing, and stuff like that. Because even now, it's a kind of a battle between DJs and producers, because the producers make the music and the DJs just play it live. So
Right.
I mean, if you produce first and then learn how to DJ second, and you're really good at both of them, you will for sure be signed by a massive agency. You'll for sure get awesome touring, shows, and you will for sure be in festival circuit level within a few years. So I mean, it just really depends on how much effort you put into it. So I definitely see some people up and coming. You already know they're going to be huge in the next couple of years, and that there's a lot of money to be made in that industry.
Nice. Kind of to wrap it up. I don't even know how long we've been talking. I don't want to take up your whole night, but with networking in mind, how do you go about building relationships organically in the industry? Because that's a big thing with anyone trying to make it. Because whenever people ask me that, or I've heard it from different people, they're like, hey, I don't live in the area where the scene is popping, or I don't know anyone in the industry. How would you go about building relationships naturally and not to where it's forced?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely been the hard part. I do feel like I'm able to retain clients a little better if it's more organic. So if I'm actually at shows giving out my card and stuff, I definitely do see those people become, usually routine supporters. But I feel like it kind of, it kind of has to do with whatever product you're pushing. Because as a photographer, you're offering services, photo and video services, and it's on a one-on-one basis. But in terms of that, I mean, you actually have to just really immerse yourself in the genre. I know it's kind of hard because a lot of artists, musicians are usually kind of I've noticed more introverted in a way. I'm personally an introvert myself, but I noticed that after a while that for me to really succeed and to really put my name out there, I just got to go out there and talk to people and see who does what, get familiar with the key players in the industry, and whatever genre or whatever scene you want to work in, you have to go to shows. After a while, you start going to shows for free, which is definitely cool, but you definitely have to pay your dues. You definitely have to get to know, who's running what. And, the best way is just to go out there and immerse yourself in the genre and to, pick whatever you want to do and just try to see if you can intern for someone or start your own, collaborative team or whatever it may be. So, I mean, for me, I just got into event photography because someone needed help with the show. From there, I kind of chased one of the event owners for a month or so to kind of work for him. And then he put me on staff. And then from there, I just, networked, started meeting the DJs and just, kept pushing my brand farther. So, organic in-person growth is going to be the best bet, but it takes a lot of time and money. But I mean, after a while, it's an investment and it reciprocates, and you'll definitely get your money and time back in a way. So,
definitely. Yeah, and I mean, I agree with you on that, on musicians being introverts, because I'm a huge introvert when it comes to going to shows. I just don't want to talk to anyone, and I'm always in the back.
Yeah, it's hard, but you have to kind of overcome your fears. There are definitely some genres that you can kind of be kind of in your own little world. With producing, you can kind of do that, but then of course you kind of got to be a ghost producer and have someone out there just DJing or putting out your music for you if you don't want people to know who you are. So it's definitely just meeting the right people sometimes and just kind of supporting them and showing them that but being true about it. You know what I mean? You don't just want to support people because you expect something back. You want to support people in a genuine way, and they definitely will support you in a genuine way as well. And that's the thing I've noticed is a lot of that's why the EDM industry is so cool, is because it's a lot of community and just helping people out. People help you out while you're growing your brand. They get to a certain point, and then they, you can always return the favor. So,
yeah, definitely. Since you said that you live off of sayings, I scratched your back, you scratched mine.
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, it's awesome. People reciprocate pretty well in the industry. So I mean, of course, it's kind of a numbers game. You will run into like not so like savory people, but for the most part, as long as you kind of stay in your lane, just work really hard and let your work speak for itself. People that support you, and then they can go as far as buying your merch, even if you're a photographer. So yeah, it's good.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, James, I appreciate you taking some time out of your day to talk to me. And, but yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it up.
Awesome. I appreciate having me on board, and, excited to see, where everything with the podcast goes, and for you as well, because I'm a big fan of your band and everything. And, it's all about support, man. You know what I mean? If you really want to, help someone get far, support them, buy tickets for their shows, buy merch, rep it, help tag friends in their posts, and you can do a lot of stuff for free. You can support people for free by reposting stuff. There's just ways to do it where, it doesn't necessarily take a lot of energy from you. As long as you're out there supporting people, it's good, affirmation for them. They feel like they're doing the right thing. And, everyone has days where they feel like they're not like, where their art sucks, or like, why do people support me? But I mean, if you have, all the positivity around you, you'll definitely go a lot farther.
Hey, you made it to the end. If you have any specific questions about marketing your music, feel free to visit our website at oddlysimple.xyz, and see you next time.